You're listening to the Renegade Blitz, the best podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
And we welcome you to the Renegade Blitz. I'm Polk with Chris Ward and Brandon Walker. A special Sunday night recap after the Steelers Ravens game, which, guys, that was a ton of fun. A little boring at the beginning, and you kind of thought it was going to be a little bit of a snoozer, or the Steelers are just going to wash this one away. But a 20-19 final score, a stop on a 2-point conversion with 12 seconds left. That's pretty good for the Steelers' playoff hopes. You guys agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody thought the Steelers were done. You know, Tony Romo mentioned throughout the game how this was a must-win game, and if their playoff hopes were riding on this, and big win at Heinz Field over a division rival, and now you go Thursday night. It's a short week, but in Minnesota, but they're coming off a loss to the Lions. So I mean, you're lucky if they get a win here. That's 7-5-1, and they're back in the mix.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Old Yeller actually did it tonight. I mean, look, Old Yeller is a dog, but he was a sick dog, but he still had fight in it. Ben still has fight in him. So this does not surprise me at all. The Steelers had to show more fight than they did last week.
Yeah, according to Mark Ball, he was 9 of 10 for 129 yards, 2 TDs, 2-point conversion, and 158.3 passer rating in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was a classic Ben performance. But
yeah, that was a great performance in the second half, specifically that fourth quarter by the Steelers. But that first half was absolutely rough. The Ravens, after a great punt by Presley Harvin III, we've been waiting for that punt from him, and after a shank earlier in the game, he manages to put him at the 1, and the Ravens still score. That was one of the odder situations with that defense. That unnecessary roughness or face mask on was it Wormley?
You talking about
that extended that drive there. I mean, there was a couple penalties that extended it, but it was also some shoddy tackling. That 10-minute drive was just probably one of the worst drives you could ever see, because that should have been stopped.
Was that the drive where T.J. Watt was called for unsportsmanlike, or was that another drive?
There was a face mask, and I think it was viewed as an unsportsmanlike, but it was given a face mask because – no, wait, that was Kendrick Green. That's my bad. Kendrick Green had a face mask, an offensive face mask after the play during a fumble. But, yes, T.J. Watt did have one of the worst unsportsmanlike you'll probably see.
Yeah, the officials in this game were definitely, the McLeod catch was questionable. Somehow they didn't call a roughing or like a illegal hit or late hit, I should say, on that play with Diontae Johnson down the sidelines. That ball was way over his head, and somehow they didn't call that.
Yeah, that was just awful. At that point, you were just like, all right, so it looks like the Steelers aren't going to have this one. But they persevered. That's the one thing you were looking for after last week. They persevered in the face of everything else, and they managed to eke out the win. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. What more can we say? Diontae Johnson proved that he could be a top 5 receiver, like I said, if he just stays healthy.
And if he stays consistent.
Stay consistent. As I found out that Marlon Humphrey is going to be on IR, so that helped her.
It looks like Brandon's having a little bit of an issue with his. But yes, Brandon mentioned that Marlon Humphreys is going on IR, so that kind of gave Diontae Johnson free lunch out there. A lot of those situations, you remember that classic Ben pump fake to that open touchdown that at one point was considered to be the touchdown before that extra point that tied it, but Boswell shanked that one to the left, but he didn't let it affect him. And I think that's the That's the one thing that the Steelers proved again. Mental toughness, not letting things affect them, even though they had a couple of things that went wrong there, right, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. That was the Boswell miss. That was crucial. I mean, luckily they got that 2-point conversion down there at the end. But if they didn't, man, that would say if they didn't get that touchdown with Johnson and they kicked the field goal. I mean, Tucker's like pretty much automatic, like from 50 play. He can even make 60 yarders. I don't know about Heinz Field, but he made one against Detroit to win the game there. But that touchdown was huge, and then the 2-point conversion, obviously, also because it forced the Ravens. What would you think of that decision to go for 2 by Harbaugh?
I mean, it was the right decision. I feel that it was tough for the Steelers to stop them at a lot of moments during this game. So I understand the thinking of them trying to go for that 2-point conversion. And if something was a little bit off of it, or Andrews had 2 hands on it, that's a 2-point conversion, and we're looking at this game a ton different.
Yeah, I mean, you think they went with that because they just wanted to end the Steelers' season, basically? Because they do have a little bit of a lead in the division. So the Bengals lost today also. So do you think they were just trying to go in for the kill shot there? And Harbaugh, he's an aggressive coach as it is, but I mean they had the play there, but not blocking Watt was kind of, I don't know if that was the right move because he was right in Lamar's face and he made a bad pass there to Andrews.
Yeah, there's a lot of other people you want in that situation. You'll give it to Alex Highsmith, Devin Bush, Robert Spillane, anyone else. T.J. Watt's not exactly a guy that I want coming off the edge. And you could also talk about that matchup, but I want to let Brandon back in here. And Brandon, we're glad to have you back on after the technical difficulties. We were talking about that 2-point conversion, that final play there in which the Ravens basically allowed T.J. Watt to have a free rush towards Lamar Jackson, and he forced that throw that caused the drop for Mark Andrews. What's your thoughts on that play?
They shouldn't have ran. I thought they should have just ran the ball on him. I thought they should have just ran it, put it in Lamar's hand. Don't try to have it up the middle.
Yeah,
or
that's what I thought too. I thought they were going to do a sweep with Jackson.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah,
but you put it in your MVP's hands. You don't.
Yeah.
I guess you want to throw it. That's a good spot. You're just trying to throw. You just don't leave an open opportunity for T.J. Watt to rush the passer.
Yeah, that's what I questioned on the play. Is just let him. That's a popular play down the goal line. You see a lot of teams run that, but I don't know. Just game of inches really, and that's what happened there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot you could talk about in a game of inches. The McLeod catch, Diontae Johnson's, what many people say is his first. There's conflicts about his drops, but I'd say the first major drop that he had this year.
All right.
That was a game of inches right there, definitely. But there's also one thing I want to talk about defensively with everything. Chris Wormley had 3 sacks on the night. And that was an acquisition from the Ravens, a rare trade in the divisions for those 2 teams. So there was a lot riding on it with Wormley. It was felt that it seemed like based off the Steelers' off-season moves that they were going in with Wormley as some part of the defensive line rotation for the Steelers before they got back Tyson Alulu, who's currently on IR with his ankle injury. So let's start with that, with the pass rush as well. But Wormley we're focusing on because, again, former Raven. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Wormley, he had a heck of a day. I thought he had 2.5, but I guess it could have been 3. Because I think they credited one with Watt.
It was 2.5.
Yeah. But he had a heck of a day. Took advantage of the right tackle who got hurt. I think the other right tackle got hurt. Did they not?
Yeah.
In the middle of the game. So it was a weak spot. Both the Baltimore tackles were weak spots tonight. Mr. Army Ranger guy and the other guy they had, Villanueva, and the guy that they put in for their right tackle. So it was a lot of sacks, 6 sacks overall. That blitzing and their defensive line won that game for today.
Even Minkah Fitzpatrick as well with that interception.
Yeah, I just saw that Harbaugh said that he went for 2 because of the injuries to the Ravens cornerbacks.
Yeah, because I think they didn't want to. I think probably they couldn't. Their Steelers are getting hot on offense. This is the first time they really got hot. Very few times in the fourth quarter, besides the Charger game.
Yeah,
but it was. I just felt like if that went to overtime and if the Steelers won that toss, they was going to score a touchdown. And I bet you he felt that same way too.
Yeah, Kevin Ostreicher did say that the Ravens secondary, especially with the injuries, it was Jimmy Smith coming into this game. If I recall correctly, did he have a series? I remember hearing from Tony Romo saying that Smith was out there on the field at one point for Baltimore. And I'm just trying to take a look at their defensive. Yes, they did say actually he was out there. He had 4 tackles and 3 solos. So he was out there.
Well, what happened to him? He fell off.
He's been around for a while. I saw him in the game there because I saw him lined up with Claypool, and I noticed. I was like, man, he's huge. Like he's almost as big as Claypool.
Oh yeah, So matching up with that, but this is sorry, man. This is a mouthful of game to process. I usually take about 3 hours to process. I had an hour and a half. I haven't had a chance to look over the stats yet, but the defensive line, their secondary was struggling. Major penalties. They almost had it beat with the interception, but that pass interference call.
Oh yeah, as soon as that popped up here, you were like, "Oh no!" And then you see the flag, and it's like, "Oh, thank goodness," because that would have been a horrible way for them to go out. But everything worked out well. Penn State Pat with the 2-point conversion. Chase Claypool. The best music is the music whenever you're winning right now, and he had the longest play of the entire game, a 40-yard catch and run. So. Yes, only 2 receptions on 3 targets, but you gotta give it to Claypool. He came up with the biggest play that ended up on the way to what was the game-winning drive for the Steelers. So, in the end, you have to give hats out to him. He was able to make those combat catches, and that was important. And also Diontae Johnson, again, as we mentioned throughout most of the show right now. He battled back from that one drop, and he managed to have another game that puts him up in the echelon at the higher ranks with the receivers. I'm a little bit gun shy to put him at top 5 after last season, but he's certainly making me feel more confident about moving him into that upper echelon, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, he's definitely playing at a real high level now. You know, that was a rare drop too. I mean, that was only his second drop of the season. That was a perfect pass by Ben. But, credit to Johnson. He bounced back, and, what a fourth quarter performance there, on that game-winning touchdown, man. What an incredible route by Johnson.
Like I said, they have the receiving core. They just got to keep their heads in the game. But I like how they're using Diontae Johnson. And I actually I think less is more with Claypool. You get what I'm saying? I think he's better off getting 3 to 4 catches, but big plays. Like, you get a good 30-yard catch from run from him, or 30-yard pass from him, with 2 to 3 Ks. If you try to get him involved in the offense, the worse off I think the team will be. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree.
They started to get a little bit of a running game there at the end. Harris ended up with 71 yards rushing, but Dan Moore Jr. you saw there on that one. Even Snell had 2 big runs up the middle.
Oh yeah.
Dan Moore, he was blocking really well. Even John Leglue, who replaced B.J. Finney, who was out with the game. He stepped in there and played pretty well also.
That's one of the better teams. I think that might be the most consistent game that the line has played all year from start to finish. I saw him like getting drive blocks. I was like, that's the way. Wouldn't he know Dan Moore? We talked about it as a mauler.
Yeah, that's what he was known for coming into the league.
And he came from Mississippi State, correct?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. Well, one of the SEC schools. I knew you came from the SEC. Well,
same type of colors.
Yeah, same colors. But yeah,
same style, basically the air raid stylish. But I think getting away from it, the Texas A&M's head coach Jimbo Fisher is less air raid, more spread. But that's neither here nor there.
He's not more of an air raid. He's more of a pro style.
Yeah,
you're thinking basically. Like Mike Leach is Mississippi State. That's what you thought about air raid. And I thought Mississippi State is air raid Mike Leach. Jimbo Fisher, because he used to coach the Seminoles, he's pro style, so he would fit right in.
Yeah, but pro style basically nowadays is spread anyway. But still, we're getting off topic. But still a good game by Moore, especially after it looked like he got a little bit hurt at one point. But it's nice to see that he was back in the game. So what else can we talk about here? I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's performance is exactly what you want. I know, Brandon, you want to call him Old Yeller, and while it's apt for him, again, I think in moments like this, especially after there was an announcement this weekend that Ben Roethlisberger has talked to some former players and some people within the organization that this will be his last season as a Steeler. So yeah, I think we have to start at least putting a little bit more respect on his name. That's now his. Does that count as a comeback drive now? His 53rd first?
Yeah,
that
counts.
It counts. Because they were behind and they got ahead in the fourth quarter. So yes.
Yeah, it's his 51st. So 51st comeback drive. So again, I mean, it's proof. If you put Hall of Fame players in situations where it's like, yo, go out there and win, and especially in 2-minute drill-esque situations, because that's Ben's bread and butter these days, and it's always been, you're going to have more likely than not a good time out there.
Yeah. No one ever said any. I thought he would be good in 2 minutes. I still thought he's one of the best. Where would you rank him about in terms of?
You were cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, you cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
Where do you think Old Yeller, aka Ben? All right, I'm gonna stop calling Old Yeller this week, so he gets the pat. He gets that. How do you think it ranks among the all-time quarterbacks when it comes to being clutch?
Oh, he's definitely up there.
Top 10.
Top 10. What do you think of him all time? Nobody ever ranks Ben all time. We're gonna do that right now.
Clutch
all time great, all time quarterback.
I mean, you always have to put Brady up there just because of it, and then it's Montana. You have Elway, then you even have Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of guys out there. I think he firmly puts himself in that 1 to 10. I lean probably more towards 5.
Yeah, I agree. He's in the top 10. You're talking about
he's got the Super Bowl comeback. That's the most important thing.
You know what? I'm gonna give me my all-time rankings right now. Brady, Montana, Manning, Rodgers, and Ben.
Wow, that's a lot to take Elway out of the top 5.
He's better than Elway, I think.
That's a statement. I mean that's a statement in terms of clutch quarterbacks, and then again with John Elway, you have to think back to the drive, even in that Super Bowl against Green Bay in his final 2 years. He's had a lot of clutch moments out there, so that's a lot to put him. That's a lot to take him out of the top 10. But really, when you talk about clutch quarterbacks, it's interchangeable. Really, it's up to your opinion, and honestly, you can't really go wrong.
I can't. I'm going with Ben. Top 5 all time. What do you think, Chris? You think Ben's top 5 all time?
Yeah, I think he's definitely in there. And he's definitely top 10. You clutch quarterbacks. I mean, there's not many you can name above him. I mean, the first 3 that really come to mind are Brady, Montana, Elway. Those 3 were always known to be clutch.
I think Ben is up there now, man. Nobody ever said why is that? How come nobody ever rates Ben the way that I just did all time?
I was watching a thing on the quarterback style evolutions that the NFL Throwback created, and Ben Roethlisberger, he had like a little mini cameo clip. He wasn't on any of the quarterback branches. And I know this. Backyard bomber, that's Ben Roethlisberger to a T. He's got to be on some sort of archetype for a quarterback out there, and that's the number one that I think when I think of Ben Roethlisberger. Because you think of how many times you probably seen the video from NFL Throwback earlier this week about how many times you'd seen him like running around creating space, even when the offensive line was arguably worse than it is right now.
Yeah, I think this one, the one in 2008, was a little bit worse than this one.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned on the last podcast how Brady mentioned him in his ESPN series, that 2004 season. I mean, you're right, Ben. As far as the all-time greats, he is overlooked by many in the national media, and that's for a couple things. Sometimes maybe his style of play is not pretty, I guess, in terms of like compared to some other quarterbacks. But there's also a personal factor where, let's face Ben is not very well liked, across the league by some players and by the national media.
Do you think they're still holding his past against him?
What?
Do you think they're still holding his past against him?
Yeah.
Yeah, some do.
Yeah, he's been held back for a while. Because what do you think? The last major national commercial I seen Ben Roethlisberger in was a Nike commercial in which it was an ensemble cast of athletes, and before that, an American Idol commercial where he sang "Pina Colada," and that was after like the 2000. That was after the Patriots' perfect season Super Bowl, so Super Bowl 42. That's the last time I remember seeing him in national commercials. And the Nike commercial was recent because it had Stamkos and everybody on it.
Yeah,
he just doesn't get love anymore.
But it's been 10 plus years since this stuff happened. You would think you would make it. Is it because they haven't won in a while? They haven't won the Super Bowl in a while?
Well, you look at the Antonio Brown situation. You remember how many people, a lot of former players in that situation were blaming Ben for that. So I don't know, I don't know. So,
all right, he needs to take some accountability with that one.
And then there was the whole radio situation. So there's a lot of stuff involved.
Yeah, he throws people off on the radio.
He's not praised as much as he should be. But another guy's to flip is kind of like, look at T.J. Watt. Do you think he's the national media is going to, the AP, who votes on the Defensive Player of the Year and all the awards, do you think the Associated Press gives him Defensive Player of the Year? Because he's at 16 sacks right now.
Ooh. He's going to break the sack record. Who's at? All right, who else is at about? He's leading by far now. What?
Let me look. I mean, look, he had 3.5 sacks today. Let me see where he ranks. I know Miles.
I'll look it up for you, Chris.
Oh, okay, you got it.
I'll look it up for you. Give me a second.
Let's see who has most. Well, Trayvon Diggs has 9 interceptions already.
Yeah, and he's only a half a sack away from tying. Or no, I think. Wait, James Harrison was his single season record.
He would be taking the lead right now. He has 16 total sacks, and Myles Garrett is idle this week because the Browns, I believe, are on bye, and he has 14. So Watt would be in the lead at this moment.
Ooh.
With 16.
Watt, you got 3. You know what? How many sacks does Hayward have? Just so we can look that up, see how many does he have, because I think they might split that vote. Hayward's up there too.
Watt has already
5.5.
Well, 5.5, but you see his pressures and the lovely pro football focus that we know and love.
Yeah, T.J. Watt, he's tied Harrison for the single season record for sacks in the season, which 16 Harrison had in 2008.
All right, but I think they might split the vote. They might split that vote. Like, he might get enough because, like I said, that's like the Shaq and Kobe of the NFL defense.
It really is. I think this, if the Steelers manage to sneak their way into the playoffs, they're going to give T.J. Watt Defensive Player of the Year. I think they'll give it if they just miss it in terms of numbers. I think they want to see if someone can break Night Train Lane's interception record, and Diggs is close to it, especially with an added game on. So I think it comes down to this. If Watt does one of two things, he breaks the sack record, or the Steelers make the playoffs, he's the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. Man, that sack record is going to get broken. I think
numerous
the crazy
times.
thing is, Myles Garrett might break the sack record, and T.J. Watt might go over it. Who else is up there in sacks? I know
Matthew Judon was right there as well.
He plays tomorrow because I know he has about 10 or 11. Parsons, who everybody was comparing to your boy, and he got ramrodded a little bit today too. But we're not talking. We're being positive because it's still
Judon is third, Quinn is fourth, Nick Bosa fifth.
Yeah, Micah Parsons I think he has at least 10. He has 10.
Yeah, he's 10.
Oh, he's for sure the Defensive Rookie of the Year. For sure. That's not even a debate. Not even debatable. But we're talking about league. But I would say T.J. Watt deserves the Defensive Rookie. Player of the Year. Do you think Najee deserves the Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Probably not.
I think they're going to try to give. I could see the media is writing on the wall. They're going to try to give it to Mac Jones.
Yeah, they're going to give. That's another thing. I was thinking also Chase, but Mac Jones is playing really well. So, you think Watt gets the single season NFL record, the 22.5 sacks?
I will say this.
But we just said that. He's going to him and Myles Garrett's going to obliterate it.
Man,
they're going Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa on that sack record.
Yes.
Extra game also is pretty big.
Harris is 8th in rushing, so I will preface that if he could bump himself up into the top 5, I think that's enough for him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. But the media has been all over Mac Jones, man. They're already annoying him as the second Brady.
Yeah. Second Brady, second coming of Brady.
Especially,
and if New England wins the division, they're gonna give it to him most likely.
Oh yeah, and they're the top seed right now. Thanks, Steelers. You made you helped out New England because they're the top seed in the AFC right now.
The crazy thing about this, I think that the Steelers, even in this iteration, is better suited against the Patriots right now in terms of defense going against Mac Jones.
Oh yeah, because I think
so. They might have better luck this time if it somehow is a 1-7 New England matchup. I'd actually be somewhat confident in them beating New England in the first round, not by much, but somewhat.
You got the next Brady. So we talked about the defense. We talked about the offense. We talked about the offensive line. We talked about Ben.
Tackling's still an issue. I mean, Devontae Freeman looked like he jumped back in the time machine. I was going here's Super Bowl 51, Devontae Freeman. Welcome back.
Yep. But do you really think Baltimore's that good? Do you really think how good
Lamar Jackson?
They was talking about.
I think Lamar Jackson at his best can make them do something.
Yeah, because they saw that little segment they had like broken birds or something. Like, something like you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. The offense has less touchdowns scored versus the defense giving up.
Yeah, it's bad. What is their point differential, Ty? I've talked about the Steelers' point differential. They're still pretty terrible because they only made up 1 point. But what's Baltimore's point differential?
I'm going to take a look at it right now with ESPN, and it's kind of slow on my end, but I think that point differential can't be as much as you thought. The point differential, Baltimore's still ahead of their opponents. It's 23.5 for Baltimore to 21.7 for the opposition.
That's still I would say that's like
so keep that in your head right now. It's a 1.8 difference.
I mean, points scored versus points against. Hold on.
282 to 260.
Huh?
282 to 260.
You're 8-4, and you have a point differential like that. 22. What's New England's?
New England's has to be much better, even with it, because they've been more active, for lack of a better term. But I have to go click into Judon to get to New England, but give me a second.
Speaking of Judon, I would think the Ravens missed them today. I talked about it.
Oh, no doubt.
I was like, what? You see, because they didn't have that much pass rush today.
Well, if Kevin said this, they weren't exactly a get to a quarterback team. They were a pass pressure team. And pressure against any iteration of the Steelers' offensive line earlier this year or last year probably would have been enough. But Judon actually gets to the quarterback, and I'll put it to you like this with New England's point differential, Brandon. New England, 336, opponents, 190.
Whoo! Does that sound like a dominant team?
Very dominant.
Now? So I always look at the point. I always look at that. Always, for some odd reason.
The Ravens, they were winning a lot of defensive games. Their offense, was struggling. Lamar's been he's been throwing a lot of interceptions, but that team they rely a lot on Lamar and stuff. And Freeman was doing pretty good there in the beginning, but they have some offensive line issues. They probably need a more of a they're missing their running backs. Obviously, they have a ton of injuries, and then now with Humphries going down, that's a big loss. And their pass defense was struggling as it is. The Ravens just they win those tight games, but a lot of it's off of Lamar Jackson, and Andrews is a really good tight end for them. The Steelers had trouble tackling him. He's a big guy.
Yeah, so
I'm starting to get why people are a little gun shy on Lamar Jackson. That little sidearmish delivery he has, he's got to fix that. He really has to fix that. He's looking like me whenever I throw the ball at times, and I kind of and it's like I broke my arm in 2018, but he kind of makes me go like, wow, I have to really he's throwing it like I do, and it's like that's not good at all.
Yeah, the sidearm, I thought he would have fixed. I think he has the work ethic to fix it, as they're showing that 2-point conversion on NBC.
Oh yeah,
you see that? You see, he could have put it if he had more touch, put it over the top, he would have caught it.
Yeah, definitely. There's some even when they call that defensive pass interference on Minkah Fitzpatrick, that was really thrown ball there by Jackson. So there's some obviously it's been an issue for a while with Jackson. But
what do you think about? He steps into it. Yeah. Like did you notice him? It's kind of like he just throws his arm out there. It's not any step into the throw with him. And it's like even when and obviously when he's under pressure, the ball just floats up there forever with him.
Yeah.
All right, but what do you think about Fitzpatrick right now?
He's been playing a lot better. I feel like 2 straight games with the interception. Tackling sometimes, is an issue with Minkah.
Do you think that his issues is because he's not making the plays? Is because, like Ryan Clark said last week, they might use him as a fifth linebacker. You think that's the issue with Fitzpatrick? Or you think he's just trying to do too much? I mean, is he trying to, be...
I thought this game was really good. I think he had like 9 tackles or something like that.
Yeah.
Interception. For this game, I didn't know really complaints about Fitzpatrick's performance.
No, I'm just saying, do you think the lovely Pro Football Focus...
Well, we questioned those Pro Football Focus rankings even before when he wasn't doing as hot,
Oh, yeah, I'm saying. Do you think it's
he was playing like a league average safety? He was a league average safety. He wasn't one of the worst.
I mean, he does, Chris Carter points this out a lot about how, you might not see his plays, there might not be impact plays, but he means a lot to that defense. Just look to that Chargers game when Trey Norwood got beat for that game-winning 53-yard touchdown. So, Minkah, he keeps the lid on things, as Tom would like to say, there in the back of free safety.
Yeah, he does, and then plus he's playing a lot more run support than they have.
Yeah.
In fact, because
was James Pierre out there at all? I saw Justin Lane was. I wonder if
they put Akello Witherspoon more out there.
I think they sat Pierre down after that performance last week against the Bengals.
He officially has a tackle out here, so he was out there on the field. But Witherspoon, I think we finally seen what Michael Sean Dugar seen out of Witherspoon. He was actually pretty solid for the most part. He's a big rangy cornerback. He had a pass defended, 5 tackles, all solos. So he did what was advertised and honestly didn't look too out of place, but I want to see more out of that before I try to crown a guy.
Right. You can't crown. The corners need a little bit of help. They need to get a first-round corner. If they don't get a cornerback is their next best thing. Yeah, and my cousin, I talked to my cousin last week, who was at the game. He was like, I don't think the Steelers had a cut. He's 24. He said, I don't think they had an all-pro corner in their lifetime. I'm like, that is a good question. When is the last Pro Bowl corner that the Steelers had, Chris? Mr. Steeler historian.
Rob Woodson.
I was going to say that. I was probably going to guess that, but I thought
maybe Townsend was one of those, but Steelers secondary, it never really had like the pieces. It always had like, especially since Chris, I'm pretty sure you could attest to this around the time we were born. It was always like, maybe they had like a corner and a safety back there, but rarely did they have like 2.
Yeah, it definitely.
So you could say they could put it out there at the same time.
Yeah, it was actually Joe Hayden. He had you remember that 2019 season? He was named to the Pro Bowl, but before that, it was Rod Woodson.
Okay,
so it was about 23 years.
Yeah, it was about 20 years.
Yes, that is. But don't worry, be happy.
So what do you guys think about the inside linebackers? Joe Schobert was really struggling there early on. Even Bush was, but who do you guys think had a bad performance in this game? It was a pretty all around. It was pretty solid, I thought.
Good boy.
I think it's tough. I think it's tough to put a guy to try to hang a guy out to dry after a big win like this, but you obviously want to see some more out of Devin Bush. Schobert, he came up with a few tackles. He was actually second in total tackles in this game and has a pass defended, so that's one good thing. Yeah. But in terms of that, I think that there's a lot of things that you say first round corner, and that probably is the more likely thing, but they also have to spend out something high on a middle linebacker as well.
They can get another middle linebacker in free agency.
True. There's a lot of things with all that money they have, and there's still restructures, and they're probably gonna do something with Tuitt. Ebron's probably gone. So I think this knee injury is basically saying like, yeah, Zach Gentry and Kevin Rader are ready to go, and they got prior moves. So Ebron's probably gone. That saves them some money. Not that
how much
his contract was over. $6 million, but his contract's up.
They said $6 million. That's funny. Yeah. All right, let's see their cap situation. I know we talked about cap situation. They're at $67 million.
I wouldn't be surprised if most of that money goes into the offensive line. They're definitely going to go out and get someone in free agency. Most likely a left tackle. They don't really like drafting left tackles in the draft, so unless they really believe in more, but they're probably going to end up buying someone out there. Middle linebacker is going to be something as well. Corner, hold on. I think they might go after a corner.
They might, but I think Dan Moore is going to be okay because usually the Steelers don't draft left tackles high. They usually get them in the middle, like Marvell Smith, Max Starks. They found Villanueva off of practice squad. They don't draft left tackles high at all. So, am I right, Chris?
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, they're not big there on left tackles, but I agree. I think they like Dan Moore Jr. a lot. It had some growing pains with him, but that's expected. He's a 4th round pick, but he's like you mentioned, Brandon. He's a mauler. That's what they thought of him when they drafted him. That's what they stepped up there the offensive line late in the game. And I think what was it? Ty Ben was only sacked once, I think, in the game.
Yeah, he was sacked once, which again, going from Kevin, you think of that pressure. The pressure, as far as I remember, it got there a few times, but it wasn't the way that you think of a Baltimore Ravens defense, So I think all in all, a big division rivalry game, season potentially on the line. You couldn't really ask for a much better performance out of the offensive line at this juncture. You want better, of course, but at this juncture.
Actually, the team actually showed hard today. Not that they usually don't, but after last week, we pretty much crapped on them.
Everybody did,
Yeah.
And everybody. That performance against the Bengals was terrible.
It was warranted though.
Yeah, and Tomlin, he's a veteran coach. He got them up to play this game. Beat a tough team like the Ravens. Now it's a short week. We're kind of concerned about going to Minnesota there on a short week, especially after playing the Ravens. But the Vikings are beat up too. They're going to be out with they're not going to have Dalvin Cook and Thielen expected to not play.
Yeah. I don't know. Christian Griffin's out with a mental health situation that was very scary.
Yeah. So
this game is dangerous.
Yeah. Hopefully
it's very dangerous.
This is probably the last time on special game of the season. If you want to put it that way, Brandon.
Hold on.
Brandon's muted right now, but
I had to cough. That's why I used it. That's what I did. Yeah, this game's very dangerous. This is the time of special potential right here. This is the game that I'm talking about. Short week. Minnesota's fighting for their lives. Coach is fighting for his job at this point.
I think Zimmer's gone regardless, but still.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. We'll ask whoever we get for the Minnesota Vikings their opinion on that because Zimmer has been on the hot seat with this season, and the Vikings are doing their thing out there. They're fighting like they always do in the NFC North, but you lose to Detroit, you question everything, and rightfully so.
Yeah, you question it.
You tie Detroit, you question everything.
Yeah, but I actually thought they was going to win today. I thought they was going to beat Minnesota today. Because, I know we're going very, but you just saw a few weeks ago, they're trying, they're fighting. I mean, they got blown out a few times, but the effort is there. The heart is there with that team. And now the Vikings got embarrassed. Now they got to come up at home and show that heart, that desire. That's why this is a very dangerous game. Plus, Kirk Cousins is still playing at a high enough level.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, obviously, a really dynamic receiver there in Minnesota. So
Thielen's hurt though, but they still have weapons.
Definitely not a gimme here, but the Steelers could win this game. That's huge, and then they'll be 7-5-1 going with their last 4 games. So I don't know, maybe Tomlin, his streak will continue, Brandon.
But do you think this is good for us though?
It's
not really.
It's kind of what we expected, though. We thought they were.
Do you think this is good?
They're in a weird spot. I mean, you have to remember they have a lot of dudes that are in their mid and early 20s out there, so it's nice for them to be like competitive. But in terms of trying to get a future draft spot, I could see why it's bad. But the Steelers are in a weird place in which they could cut a lot of veteran talent in the off season and be a really young team. Like, they're young in spots.
Yeah.
That's where you get nervous about this. You know what I mean?
The youngest spots. You don't want them having that losing culture of tanking. I get it. But still, is this really good for them? Is it?
Well, they're going to have to address the quarterback situation, and if they're in the middle of the draft or wherever, this quarterback class isn't even that good, people are saying. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they get a veteran quarterback in the offseason. What do you guys think? You think Kenny Pickett's going to be a top 10 pick, or you think he's going to be on the outside a little bit?
Probably. He'll be first round, but he'll be first round. He might be the first quarterback chosen. But guess what year they had a bad quarterback year? Quote, bad quarterback year. 2017.
Yeah.
Guess who came out of that draft? Exactly. Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Yep. Yeah, you never really know sometimes with the quarterbacks. It's always, they come out of nowhere too. Who saw? Well, there was a little bit expectations that Pickett was going to go off this year, but now he's in position to be a first round pick. I don't. You guys, I didn't get a chance to watch the game yesterday, but what do you guys think about Pickett? Do you think he's going to be a true franchise quarterback out there?
I think he'd be a guy somewhere. I think he'll probably get a year off. Like, maybe. I think the best thing to do for him is probably give him a year under a quarterback or a few games and then try to ease him in from there. But there's a lot that he does out there that's pretty well. I mean, that fake slide was just nasty, no matter how you feel of it. That's still a nasty move to pull off in an in-game situation.
Yeah.
To have the presence of mind to do that, that's still nasty regardless how you think of it.
Yeah, I saw some people were upset about I guess they thought Pickett was like taking advantage of the rules and whatnot.
That's what you do.
Yeah,
you do.
I'd love that.
It was nice.
I'd love that out of my quarterback. I'd be writing it down. It's like he knows the rules, and that's the most important thing. You can always bend it. And besides, they'll probably create a Pickett rule or something like that. And hey, add it to his Heisman campaign.
Yeah, I mean, you look across football at any level. People are always looking for little advantages, and you can feel however you want, but definitely heads up play by Pickett.
Yep. Yeah, but that was just nice. What do I project? I said Kirk Cousins plus. I've always said that. That's still a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
is that good enough to get you to what you want is the Super Bowl? I don't know.
Yeah, I saw.
Got to build a team without it around him.
People that are Pickett doubters, they were comparing him to like Brady Quinn and Ken Dorsey. So I don't know. I don't know about that.
That's ugly. That's
disrespectful to that man.
That's what I thought too when I saw. I was like, this guy's either a Pickett hater or he doesn't like Pitt or something.
He doesn't. But Brady Quinn, Ken Dorsey's a good offensive coordinator though.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I mean, they gave Pickett some offensive autonomy. That's why they have Whipple there. So I mean, that could be a good thing in the future.
Yep.
Who knows? But guys, we'll talk more about the Minnesota Vikings later this week. Short week for us on the Renegade Blitz podcast, but Again, we thank you for tuning into the special Sunday edition on Twitter. Podcast should be coming out in the next day. For Chris Ward and Brandon Walker, I'm Ty Polk. Thank you for tuning in to the Renegade Blitz.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at @RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.